The story of the Volkswagen Beetle is really the story of the 20th century automobile and the freedom and mobility that average working class people discovered through the car. Sure, Ford's Model T came first, and in fact Adolf Hitler, considered the unfortunate father of the original Volkswagen, was inspired by Ford and the success of the Model T to develop the Beetle as the car that would put the average German citizen on the road to economic prosperity and national loyalty to his regime. Before Hitler's scheme had a chance to take off, though, the engineering that went into the Volkswagen, literally translated as the people's car, was used to develop the German Kubelwagen, or the German Jeep. After the war, though, desperate German war refugees began hand-building Kubelwagens and eventually the car we know as the original Beetle out of the heavily damaged factory, trading the cars for food and materials to build more cars and fuel to keep warm. Before long, the factory was making Volkswagen Beetles on a Ford-style assembly line, and the car became the car for the working class in Germany and other parts of Europe, just as it had intended to be. And by the late 1950s and early 1960s, the car began selling in sufficient numbers that Detroit, which thought the car ugly and too small to succeed, began responding with small cars of its own. The charm of the Beetle is in its alleged ugliness, as well as its durability and relative ease of repair. Anyone who has ever owned one can attest that even a novice could lift up the rear tailgate where the engine was housed and change the fuel filter, a spark plug, or wrap on the solenoid with a screwdriver as the manual actually instructed if starting up was a problem. So unique for the times, the Beetle inspired an entire movement in the advertising industry, away from over-glamorized sales pitches to the use of humor and irony.
Aber die allerwichtigste ist, dass dieser Wagen läuft und läuft und läuft und läuft und läuft und läuft.
The image crafted around the Beetle and its mechanical cousins, the microbus and Karmann Ghia coupe, was so sophisticated and hip that consumers of means, like lawyers and doctors, as well as working class people and teachers and of course students, all bought Beetles. The popularity spawned a whole series of Herbie the Love Bug movies from Disney. The car was discontinued for sale in the U.S. in 1979 after 30 years of being sold without a total overhaul of its design and engine. By 1994, without the Beetle, Volkswagen of America was barely alive in the U.S., selling fewer than 50,000 vehicles. Talk of closing down was in the newspapers. But a new Beetle design was green-lighted and shown at the 1994 Detroit Auto Show. The sensation stirred up old emotions for the Volkswagen brand. Consumers began flocking to dealerships, often not realizing the new Beetle was not yet there, but checking out the Golf, Jetta, and Passat anyway. The new Beetle hit showrooms in late 1998 and sold briskly to baby boomers with a soft spot for the car. More importantly, though, its arrival reignited the passion and love for the Volkswagen brand that drove sales back to respectable levels. The new Beetle went out of production in late 2009 after a decade. As critical to Volkswagen's comeback as it was, one of the problems with the car was that its soft, bulbous lines and arched roof made it appealing to women, especially those over 40, but men and young people passed it over. Now, the 2012 new Beetle will arrive this fall. Restyled to be a bit edgier and more muscular, the car will actually get its first owners from audience members of Oprah Winfrey's TV show. But the company is hoping to stir emotions and wallets all over again for the car that started out life as a tool of the Nazi Party almost 90 years ago, but ended up an American, indeed a world, icon. I'm David Kiley, Editor-in-Chief of AOL Autos.